Ladies and gentlemen, can I please have your attention?
What time is it?
I've just been handed an urgent and horrifying news story.
Now Myers to win the league, yes!
And I need all of you to stop what you're doing and listen.
Game time! Werewolves of London.
Well, hello and welcome to the Below the Rim show, a show dedicated to the BBL. It's me, Pabz. I'm joined as always by my main man, Adz. How are you, sir?
I'm really enjoying my New York pastrami, Monterey Jack cheese, pickle, and mustard rye sandwich.
Nice. I've had a Satsuma. Grant, my man.
I'm really enjoying my Aldi jelly. So,
oh yeah, you were talking about that before.
And my can of mixed fruit cider.
Oh, they're nice. They're the Copperberg, nice. Very nice. I had one at dinner time. I had an Aldi's own melon and something or other. It was weird, but it was nice.
You were off today, Pabz, and you were having a cider on your lunch break before driving the public of Plymouth round on buses.
I'm off today and tomorrow, and I was last week in Aldi because my favourite one's the plum one. There's like a stewed plum. It's so nice. But I was on my hands and knees because they've moved all those ones down to the bottom shelf. So I'm on my hands and knees going through hundreds of them. I could only find one to keep getting out the way for people.
You're probably the only person that likes them then.
I look like an alky. No, there's none left, man. They've all been drunk.
By you.
By me. Not in one go. I couldn't take it. I'm pathetic. I only started drinking when I was about 40. Well, fellas, let's start things off. We've got plenty to talk about. We've got the Barking Abbey London Lions stuff to talk about. I don't know if there is, but more the fallout of that, perhaps, and the unhappy timing of the women's coach being shuffled along as well. Ex-players' reaction to that and kind of to 777 in general. Plus, we'll maybe talk about some of the negative fans, some sort of 777, but mostly, I mean, we're kind of getting used to it down here now, but mostly the kind of weird negative fans that the Patriots have, and we know there's a lot kind of behind that, along, with the Raiders and that kind of thing, so... Let's start things off by having a little chat about the games over the weekend, fellas, because there were some absolute crackers going on across the league. Namely, and I think we'll start with this one, namely the Giants Scorchers thriller, 86-85, obviously finished in favour of the Manchester Giants after being bailed out by the GOAT, Ramon Fletcher, with his little jump shot towards the end there, swish bum as well, which I enjoyed. Adz, my man, what was it like?
Well, the weirdest part about the whole affair was that I struggled to concentrate on the game for more than a few minutes because Josh kept on telling people I was spilling drinks all over myself.
What was that all about?
I'm so confused.
Well, it's about nothing. You know what I mean? Because I was just sat there watching it with my daughter. And then Josh kept talking about me. And then after about the fifth one, the messages started coming from all over the place going, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm just on my sofa watching a game. And then it was like people were asking through people. My favourite one was Dom Allen's sister Whitney, another former WBL player, texted Dom and said, his head's all right. Like I was in hospital. I'm just like, guys, I'm fine. I'm just sat watching the game, but Josh and Chris are there having a whale of a time. But yeah,
fake news.
Once I'd hit mute, no, I didn't really. Yeah, it was some game. The thing is, right. Now, I'm not going to start moaning about it because it was a great game, but that's what pretty much every Giants game is like at the moment.
It's mad,
These
isn't it?
nail biters that go to the wire. That is I believe, the 5th or maybe 6th overtime game of the season.
Wow.
That's crazy.
I'm not sure how Vince is doing it, but every game's a nail biter, and overtime at Bellevue's becoming just a regular thing, which is great for the fans, and we all enjoy an overtime thrill. Let's face it. But when you start digging in a little bit, you kind of going, do they need to be in these positions? And you're thinking, they're getting into these games like this, but become slugging matches. Do they need to against teams like Surrey? And Surrey, they've really impressed me. I've seen them twice within the last few weeks, and they are a good team. But you sort of thinking, well, come on, they're the team propping up at the table at the moment, and we're talking about finishing top 4 here. So why are we going down to the wire? But
in all fairness, that's a bit of timing, isn't it? Because Scorchers are trying to put it together.
And they look good. I feel so bad for Lloyd. If we'd have lost that game, I'd have been happy for Lloyd because, he's finally, got one.
Yeah.
Because he deserves one, because he's got a good team there. Some really good players. I think Wang's just sensationally good. He had a sort of quiet-ish game by his standards this week, but he still had a couple of nice moves that, Josh Beck nearly wet himself a couple of times when he when he dunked the ball. But yeah, Taj Green back on form. He had a good game. Fletch is just Fletch, super clutch, and it's the second time in as many weeks that he's forced overtime, basically.
Yeah.
Because he did it against, who was it? Leicester.
He's becoming very clutch. Like, not becoming, he always has been, but...
No, you know that when Fletcher's got the ball at the end, if you've got one of the players on that team, the ball is in their hands and you think, oh, I feel okay, it's Fletch. You know what I mean? If it's the game's on the line, the person whose hands you trust the ball to be in is Fletch, because he's either going to make a great pass or do one of these Fletch moves to the basket that people can't stop, and do the biz, basically. So yeah, it was a exciting game, another exciting Manchester Giants performance, and what can I say about Surrey? I think they're a really good team. I think they're a good team waiting to happen.
Well, then, of course, your two teams went head-to-head as well over the weekend. Caledonia conquering. I'm just trying to find the score now. No, well, nearly 20 points, wasn't it? 91-73. Ads, you were there, were you, I suppose?
Yeah.
Didn't you share? You shared a picture with us, I think, as well, which I'm trying to find as well. I'm not. You often do. There was a great picture of you and Trez.
I didn't see this.
The Friday one.
Was that Friday? Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah. Well, it's slightly staged. Someone commented that we look like the front of Friday, so I got the photographer to take the picture with a view to turning it into.
You as Ice Cube and.
Trez as Smokey.
Trez as Chris Tucker.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant.
No, that was good. But the game itself, Grant, by all means, go first, because it was a much more positive experience for you than it was for me.
I did not like the first 7 minutes, though. The first 7 minutes, it was as if we were still on the bus, sleeping. Or maybe even still in Glasgow. Like the first 7 minutes, we were shocking. And I would also say that was just good play by Manchester. I don't think they missed the first 7 minutes. It felt like Ramon had easy offense. Like, honestly, I was dreading.
That's what they do. No, that's what Giants do. And I'm wondering if teams like Caledonia have wised up to it, that they'll come out firing, go ahead, and then you actually get them in a position where it's time for you to take over.
But then, maybe, but I just think we also just looked like we played pretty. Like Gareth called a timeout, and then all of a sudden it was all right, we actually turned up, played some defence. The game, I think the moment the game changed was when friend of the show, Johnny Bunyan, made his 2 threes. I think he actually sailed for Caledonia to win it. But mightily impressed with our 2 new guys. Like, when you think that we've got Ali Hodgic and Durham coming off the bench. With we're 8-9 easily deep, and that doesn't include an Ali Fraser. It's a good place to be. Jeremiah Bailey had one of his good games. And how impressive has Patrick Tapé been recently?
He's amazing. Yeah.
Well, I've seen him twice. 3 times now. I think he played in the pre-season game that I saw as well. And each time he's really impressed me. That guy's a beast. Really good player. His shorts are a bit tight for him, but he's a great player. He knocked down a
3 as well, didn't he?
He has range. He's 50.
Yeah. I was going to say, at the beginning of the season, I'm sure he was putting up the 3 ball, but he certainly, he was 1 for 1, but
Yeah. He's also been selected for the Ivory Coast for the next round of Afro basketball games.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. So that's really cool.
Yeah, so he's obviously doing well. He was in and around their team in the summer. I think they were the first team to qualify for the next round of World Cup stuff across the whole world.
That's amazing.
So yeah, he's forcing his way into their roster and reckoning. So
you just made me think of something.
Oh, that's exciting! But Patrick Tapé has been brilliant in recent. Like, you know what? Almost since Ferro's been announced as coming in, he's been even better.
Yeah.
No, he's a solid player.
He'd be picking stuff up off Ali Fraser, surely, and now Ali Hodgic. There's not a more seasoned player, kind of in a higher level across a European context. You're going to learn a lot from him.
Absolutely.
I mean, Tapé. He's a unit. He's a big dude. How tall is he, Grant? He's like 6'8", 6'9", something like that.
I thought he was 7 foot. He plays like he's 7 foot.
He's probably billed as 6'10".
Yeah, he's a big dude. But the other thing I've noticed about the Giants is they're pretty short on rotation at the moment because sadly Nathan Robinson picked up an injury in practice. So he's out for a couple of games,
and he played off 3. He got 3 bench
it
guys.
Leaves them with yeah. But what I've noticed of late is the Giants seem to do better when Nick Lewis is on fire. And he had a really quiet game the other night. A couple of games before that, Nick Lewis was balling. He was balling out, and the Giants played better. And it's sometimes those little things that you notice. It's like, Nick Lewis didn't have a great game tonight, but he was sensational the last 2 games, and we've lost heavily. Weird. I don't know if it's coincidence, but yeah, Nick's become, he's starting to look comfortable in his role and was hitting some big basket, driving to the hole and shooting some big threes. But no, he didn't have
statistically, I think they keep saying he's the best defender in the league.
Yeah, I mean, he's a great defender. You watch him and, he'll have the ball out of your hands and be down the court before you know what's going on. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
so you know that you're going to get a couple of steals from him.
Yeah, people forget that he's one of those guys that could knock down 25, 30 points in a game.
Yeah, and I think he's had big numbers a couple of times this year. So when he's scoring, the Giants do better. The weird thing is like they keep having these games, the Giants, where nobody's coming up big on offense and giving you the 25 to 30 thing that I talk about sometimes.
Yeah.
Like Dirk, for example, obviously scores at will, but then what will happen is he'll stop scoring, for a period in the game, and then he'll hit two or three big threes in the final quarter. Like he did against Cheshire the other day, where he hit 3 back-to-back, literally the same basket, straight down the court. We're in trouble here. We need threes. Bang, bang, bang. And then he hit the 4th one. I think they'd have won by 1, or it'd have been overtime or something. So, yeah, I mean, William Lee, wondering if he's still sort of finding his way back to full form after the injury, that when players come back, it takes them a couple of games. He didn't have a great game against Caledonia by his standards. He was good, he was solid, but But, with him, you're sort of looking to him for your 25 points, and 10 rebounds to go with it. You know what I'm saying?
Well, he was doing it, wasn't he, at the beginning of the season?
Yeah.
I think it was also impressive.
Yeah.
Watching the game,
but then you look at...
When you go ahead, sorry. Someone's glitching, is it me?
No, I
was just going to say, with Tappe, you sort of look at a guy and going, right, well, Legend is the right size to stand up to him and get busy, you know what I mean? But he didn't, and Tappe dominated. And, sometimes with Legend, he has like a really good game where he plays like the beast that he is.
Mm.
Then the next game, it'll be a bit quiet. But I want a guy that's 7'1" to be taking names. You know what I mean?
Mm.
And I don't see enough of them looking for him in the high post and him being strong enough to back guys like Tappe down and take him to the hole.
Fair enough. Let's across the rest of the games. I mean, we put the interviews out in a couple of different show formats, which went down quite well. So we'll keep doing those. We'll also try and add some of Ads' interviews into the mix as well, which you can get on the Brown 161 YouTube channel, which are also very good. But I'm definitely going to try and go to games early and interview because they kind of lose context if you're listening to it and you didn't watch the game or whatever, and all they're talking about is the game. But
well, for me, if you want to hear the story of that game against Gladiators from the Giants' point of view, it's a pretty short interview. He summed it up really well.
So looking at the rest, I mean, two Patriots fixtures, 2 losses. No surprise, I don't think there to anyone except Nicholson, who obviously backed them to win in both games. But I've got to say, out of Bristol Flyers and London Lions, Bristol are still, to me, the more impressive team that I saw come down to Pavilions. They were absolutely incredible. They shot the 3-ball at, I think it was 53% in the end. They never looked in trouble from start to finish. VJ King was absolutely unreal. I think he scored 30 and didn't score from kind of mid-third quarter until later on in the fourth quarter because they just didn't really need him to. But they were phenomenal. And it was a very downbeat game for the Pats. And I think I wrote about it when in the article today. They kind of were then staring down the barrel of the Lions, and it was almost like, Jesus, we've just lost by 20 plus to the Flyers. What's going to happen against the Lions? And actually, first half was okay. Like first quarter was tied 16 apiece, and Pats were going for it as you'd expect. Lions third quarter, and I'll tell you now, I've got Zubcic in my team of the week because that guy, he essentially won the Lions the game. He shot 3 consecutive threes, did a bunch of, he's a great defender, got a couple of good blocks. His passing's outstanding. The guy that was incredible. They went 25 points up, and somehow the Patriots managed to claw it back in the fourth to 6 points. And at one point we were thinking, Jesus, like they could do it. They had all the momentum, and then you just sort of look up and you realise that's the Lions, and they just had another little gear.
No, it's not Pabz. It's like the final. It wasn't a blowout.
No, but it's weird though when you watch it. It's like they weren't really panicked. There's at no point where they
control, don't they? They look at control of their own destiny. Like you're saying, the comparison in Bristol and Plymouth, Bristol and London. I still think like Bristol, and we've all been majorly wrong about Bristol this year, but they play like they have to win every game. They play like every game, proving a point, and they play hard the full time. And you look like they're what you're saying. Like they look the best team that's come to Pavilions. They're the
best team I've seen this season in the flesh.
But London just have this kind of like, we're going to Rolls Royce through you.
They're phenomenal.
Third gear, fourth gear, and doesn't matter who our 12 or 10 guys is, we'll win. I think you said it, or someone said it, that you had Subban and Decker travel down with the team and didn't even play.
No. Yeah, travel down, didn't play.
That shows what type of team they are, that they've all bought into that. And
they booked their train, didn't they, as well? Did you hear that? They booked their train for like an hour after, or not even an hour, I don't think. But the game was a long old game because I think both teams in the first 3 quarters were over the foul limit with a good 5-6 minutes left in that quarter, and it slowed things down. I mean, it suited the Pats.
Don't start me. That's a big rant for me this season.
It suited the Pats.
How long games are going on.
I did find it very difficult to talk about, when the referees give that offensive screen foul, because I just don't like it's just the simple fact that they've had a meeting pre-season, they've decided we're going to call that one, and they call it, even if it's not, they just call it. It's driving me fucking mental.
Do you think the refs get together at the start of the season and all the rules are in a wee tombola type thing?
It feels like that. But I get it. Like, it feels very amateur to the sense that, and it is obviously for the referee side of things, they need to be professional, that we need to support them more. I get that. But as it stands at the moment, it's very much like when I played water polo at the top level in the country, and the referees would have a referees meeting at the beginning of the season, of which you could go and attend and sit in, and we sometimes did, and they would be very specific about what they were going to look for this season. It would be 1 or 2 specific things, and that's all they'd fucking call all season long. And it feels very much like that.
You see that in other sports, rugby, when they talk about lineouts or scrums, similar to you with
cracking
volleyball.
Down on something. Yeah.
Like, volleyball is probably very similar to in that sense. You always could tell this was the instructions sent out. This is how the game's going to be refereed this year. But the fact we're getting so many offensive calls on this means maybe there's an issue with the ruling, because why is either all these players...
100%. There's 100% an issue. The issue is any kind of contact, which obviously you're going to get because it's a screen or a pick and roll or a block. You're going to get contact. But they've almost taken away the offensive advantage, if you like, and given the advantage to the defense, no matter what the situation is.
I saw a player get called for two carries this weekend within 5 minutes, and it was like, that's not a call. I've seen officials when a coach has asked them, being what did he do, get teed up.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Like that,
I've got to say, actually, if you watch when Aaron Best plays, and I'm a massive fan, I thought he was brilliant. If he brings the ball up, if he's in control of the ball, he has a couple of dribbles where he puts his hand underneath the ball and holds it for like a half a second too long, and then dribbles it again. And he did it a few times, and you can see the ref on the far side, like double take, like do I blow for that? Do I blow that?
Well, this is I think, isn't it? It's James Harden territory, isn't it? He travels every 3-pointer he takes, and he doesn't get called for it. And I know what you mean, because some players, I've not noticed it with him, but you see them bringing it up court. Hang on a minute, that was a carry, and you had about 7 steps before you took your first dribble. You know what I mean?
Yeah. It's funny, isn't it? But listen, let's Phoenix Eagles game. I didn't catch. I was quite surprised the Eagles, the Phoenix took it as convincingly, because obviously the Eagles have been playing quite well.
I think Phoenix at home are just really good, though. That's a tough
gym.
Absolutely. For some reason this season. I don't know if it's just because all you hear is screaming kids. There must be something about that place this year that
they always pack it out, though. I've heard it's because
screaming kids.
I've heard it because the owner cracks open the fire door near the away bench. And then,
it's
of course,
a very, very noisy gym.
Yeah, and then of course, your favourite team to watch, Grant, the Sheffield Sharks.
We've only got a minute and a half left. I've got no time for speaking about Sheffield in a minute and a half. No, you know what? That new guy Ramsey, he's quick.
Yeah, he looks
Ramsey's
good.
Quick. He looked decent. Nelson still looks like he's struggling. But that was a game that Gladiators dominated for the first 4 minutes, and that was the game done. Like, the lead got to about 10, and that was it. It was one of those games that, like,
just stayed ahead all the time. Yeah,
just stayed ahead, and they threatened to come back and didn't. And again, people like Tappy was brilliant, but Al Durham, man, what a signing he is going to be. Like, he's been in a week and he's already making us look better. Like, he's going to be phenomenal. Like, you don't come in. He had NBA summer workouts. He's played top league Greece. It didn't work out, and we've ended up with him, which is like, that's an unreal signing. Like, Even my dad's not the biggest basketball watcher, and he may have been like, that Al Durham's exciting to watch. So, I think if they get the Gordon Young seal of approval, then definitely worth watching.
There you go. Let's take a quick break, go and come back, and then I've got some insider goss for you, some information.
Oh,
groundbreaking news! We don't often have news on this show, but this should be news, especially if it's right. Anyway, we'll see in a bit. Right. We were just talking off air, just slightly there, about where I've heard this information. It's not Nicholson, and I can't really disclose who it's from because I don't know why, actually. I probably could. They're probably cringing right now anyway. But the gossip I've got is that there is a very strong chance that Jelani Watson-Gale is going to be in the next GB squad. And when is that window coming up? Is that next week?
The women's is now.
The women's is on at the moment.
When's the men's?
Must be a few weeks. Well, they announced the coaches, didn't they? So the team must be announced shortly.
So he's very likely to be in that squad, and that's good. I interviewed him obviously recently. I think when I started interviewing him, he didn't have a clue who's this twat talking to me, and then by the end of it, we were kind of having a bit of a laugh. But well, that's great. First of all, that's fantastic if that actually comes to fruition, because we've all enjoyed watching that guy play. And I'd like to also, I talked a bit about it with Josh Ward-Hibbert as well, that he's kind of the standard he's been playing at. When he gets the chance, he doesn't always get the minutes, but when he gets the chance, I'm always surprised when people are surprised how good he is, because like if Rob Paternostre wants you in that squad for Leicester, there's got to be something about you. Like we've seen it with William Lee, we've seen it with I've forgotten his name now, the lad who was at Manchester for a bit, good outside shooter, Corey
Johnson.
There you go. But then to be at the Lions for as long as he's been kind of there, and to be retained by them, regardless of what your contract situation is, because money's no object, I guess to them it wouldn't matter. But he's a good player. He's a great player. He's a good defender. He's sort of suits that European style because he's big. He can play multiple positions, and I think he's another one who should be in with a shout of a call up into that squad. But the other bit of news for you is that a source has told me that it's trophy out, All-Star game in for next season.
Finally.
I mean, I hope Glasgow gets a Caledonia team in the final this year again. It's been a while since we've got to that final. We've only got there once.
Well, this is the other thing as well. If this does happen, like you say, you guys would lose that cup final up there. But I don't see why they can't kind of rotate a few of the bigger venues for the cup final, as it were. Like it doesn't always be in Birmingham. It could be Newcastle one year. It could, like they used to do that. We had it in the Brighton Centre one year, you know.
Well, the trophy, the trophy used to rotate, but the cup final seems like Birmingham's the home, and I think it works.
Yeah, you got to keep one of them in the in Birmingham or the O2 because it's obviously a huge financial thing for the league, and you want to have a game where you're going to get 16,000 people at a British game, don't you? And you know, outside of Birmingham and London, you know, unless they, I don't know, for argument's sake, put it in the Manchester Arena. You know, you want to keep it so that one of the finals are still in huge venues. Maybe
it's the All-Star game they'll move around then. Maybe that'll be the situation. They'll move that from gym to gym as an exhibition for maybe cities that don't have basketball as much as cities that do have basketball, you know?
Or maybe they do it in a way where the first year, just to try out the formula and everything, they do it in Newcastle or Bellevue or somewhere that's got, you know, a pretty, you know, decent sized arena.
Yeah.
And then you look to doing it how they did it in the late 90s, where you put it in a big arena.
I went to watch it in Birmingham, I think.
I mean, I saw it at the 9X.
Yeah.
Well, half the reason that the trophy ended up in Glasgow for probably so long is that there was a year that they had to move the trophy final because the LTA wanted it for tennis for the Davis Cup. And basically, the LTA bought the hire from the BBL for some massive amount of money that's basically paid for the hire ever since.
Sure.
Like, it was crazy amount of money, like what I heard. It was enough for like 5-6 years worth of how much it would cost the league to stage the game in Glasgow.
Wow.
Like, the Emirates is a decent size. It seems 6,000 will get in there, which, okay, it's not as big as Birmingham, but if it is going to be this third showpiece event, then if you're tiering it, then 6 is pretty good, 10 is pretty good, and then whatever the O2 is. An All-Star game, I think, will need to be somewhere pretty central to get people to come to it.
I get it, but I think there's something to be said for the kind of what I'd like to kind of refer to as the Harlem Globetrotters situation, where the kind of more places you can take that to as a travelling roadshow, if you like, almost, because you're going to get a specific kind of style of game that may not necessarily be competitive until the last 4 or 5 minutes if it's a close game, but you are going to get the spectacular stuff, and you may get a 3-point shootout. They might put the dunk contest in it as well, so it'd be like a whole day of basketball stuff, exciting, like new stuff,
Yeah, I mean that's what an all-star game's all about, isn't it?
Exactly.
all the stuff that comes with it. So you got to do something where you're not only showcasing the great players, in a game situation, you're showcasing the best dunkers, the best three-point shooters. I mean, it's like my only critique of the dunk contest that they do at the cup final is that you don't have your bigger stars doing it. It's like
there's a lot of money there as well. They got paid a decent amount of money.
Yeah. So you're thinking, it'd be great to see Taj Green in the dunk contest, or Wang, these guys that give it hops during the game. It'd be great to see them competing.
So I've got two views.
There's so many guys.
Yeah, I've got two views on replacing the trophy. I feel like the trophy has been such a long-standing event, and we talk quite often about history on this. And you wonder, like, are we just stalling it, or how can the trophy's accolades be remembered or changed? But then what an all-star game allows for more allows the league and whatever else to tell. They like to talk like creating a narrative, creating a story. It's entertainment, I suppose, and know our name, I suppose, is the catchline for this game as well. An all-star game probably allows people to get to know a little bit more insight in players when they come together for like a special event. So I would love. I kind of sit in the middle. Like I think the trophy is kind of like the third sibling that gets forgotten about.
Yeah,
and an all-star game brings together more people and allows for maybe a different type of entertainment, but
more of a marketing tool as well, isn't it? When you look at
it, absolutely. And you hope guys like Wang's probably one of the best ones. Like that dunk Shaquem Johnson did against Manchester on Sunday was insane as well.
Yeah.
Like if you look BTR 5, he was in a losing team, but look at his numbers in that match.
I've got him potentially.
You got him?
Potentially. I've got too many on my list though. So,
but like guys like that, like Wang, Johnson, just as you said, guys we didn't see in the dunk contest who in game is just insane. But yeah, I kind of want to make sure the trophy. I don't know. There's something about the trophy that I'm always like, why is it the third sibling win? Is it not an older competition as well?
I don't think so. National Cup goes back a long way as well. They're both like. Actually, I can tell you. I can try and tell you because I do have, which the league sent me a while ago as well, which was very kind of them. Which I had to update myself with league playoffs, trophy and cup MVPs, but it goes back to before the BBL. Started, which is a long, long time ago, before my time. I'll just open it up. But while we do, we'll oh no, it's done now. Hold on. I was going to talk nonsense, standard sort of stuff. So if I just zoom back, 1974, we've got playoff history. 1978, we've got cup and playoff history. And it's not until That's weird. It's not until 87, 88 we've got any kind of trophy. But if that's BBL, if it's specifically the BBL trophy, and that's what it's always been called, then it will have started in 87. But I'll be honest, I don't know. I mean, I can look into it. I've been looking into the cup because I was a little bit bemused by the stats side of things when it came to the cup and the media handbook. But turns out the media handbook is going from when they officially called it the BBL Cup as opposed to the National Cup. But all records still count across in terms of medal count. So all records should count in terms of, who scored the most, whatever, combination. I think the only stats I could get hold of that were kind of wrong was that Rashad Johnson scored 39. Charles Smith scored 39 in 2012, but obviously 2002, Rashad Johnson scored 39 for Birmingham, I think, on the losing team. Dorsey got 35 against Sheffield when they lost in 2000. Brant Bailey got 24 alongside Rashad Johnson. But it's, that's just me being a dork. But Dan Routledge said that, those stats should all still count because it's always been the cup. It's just since the beginning of the BBL. But if the trophy has always been the BBL trophy, then it would have been 87 it started, and the cup would have been longer. Anyway, slight digression. Shall we have a little chat about the Lions and what's been going on in terms of sort of behind the scenes for them? The timing of everything seemed to be a little bit unfortunate, shall we say? So the women's coach is shuffled around. Was that right? They moved him somewhere else?
Yeah, they not made him.
They said that they've made him an advisor, but I think somebody commented that that's kind of what they said in the announcement about Vince.
Oh.
He was being moved to something else. We'd have to go back and fact check that. But yeah, someone did bring up on Twitter that it's the same thing. But something weird's going on down there because you look at the last month, yeah. They lose a GB player in Kennedy Leonard.
Yeah, that was odd.
The head coach goes 2 days after winning another trophy mid-season, not even at the end of the season. And then they announced a day later that they're breaking ties with Barking Abbey, which, because of the amount of involvement with junior basketball I have, that was the biggest news to me because that's huge.
Sure,
that's huge because Barking Abbey is one of it's up there. It's one of the best. You know what I mean? When you talk about the best academies in the country, Barking Abbey always comes up. You got them and Kohler, and then you got us up here, the Magic, and you got Charnwood and Myerscough. But Barking Abbey, parting ways, is massive, and Joachim Wynn.
Well, this is the fallout thing kind of side of things. Is probably what we'll talk about.
Well, Joachim Wynn, as we know from years gone by, when something big goes down that he doesn't like, he will say it as it is. And his 3 tweets were pretty explicit. You know what I mean, about how he felt. And I think a lot of people are starting to feel that way and kind of going. I feel it. It's just like, what actually is going on down there? Because I've said before that a lot of people are doing this whole, I love what London are doing. I love what London are doing, and I'm the one sat there going, well, I don't, because the team that the league also owns are the team that are the most talked about in terms of salary caps and this, that, and the other. But they're now becoming the team most talked about for just weird things like this happening out of nowhere, and you kind of going, what's the end? What's at the end of this? I mean, they're setting up a new academy, or are they going to go, because there's a London Lions junior program, the young bloods, junior team. So there's a lot going on, but Barking Abbey is the academy here. What ultimately is it that they're doing? Because there's word on the street, and this is word on the street, just chit-chatting to people, around the game. Giants games or wherever I happen to be, is that on the women's side, there might be more people on the way out.
Well, it has been,
which is crazy when you look at who they've got.
It's been strange. That announcement was strange, and then there was a link between the women's coach and him being a chairman or director of whatever it was at Barking Abbey, and that didn't sit particularly well with some people. The problem with this, as always, is that we'll never kind of find out probably anything about it. I mean, Grant, go on. What are you going to say?
No, I think, is this not one of these case and scenarios where they've almost got to do the bad PR before the good PR? Like, how do they, if they announce their own academy, are they then just going to do the usual traditional old school BBL statement of at the bottom of the line, Barking Abbey is no longer united with, do you know what I mean? So is it almost from their point of view being like, we need to have we'll take the negative hit and before we launch our own thing. However, that is 3-4 events that have happened massively close together.
Yeah.
It looks like they're about to appoint a new women's coach who's a former, was it Greek international player?
Yes, I think so. Yeah.
So I also wonder if this is just the fallout from, like, London women's team should have done better in Europe than they did.
Well, I don't know enough about how did they do in Europe?
Well, they lost earlier on than they should have. For this team on this roster, and
so are they out of the Euro?
They are out.
So this is the point I was exactly going to make, is that unfortunately the state of the WBBL and the domestic side of things, whether they won the cup or not at the weekend before they've obviously let this guy go, domestic success is not important. It's a bit different to the BBL. Like there's no equivalent. They are miles ahead of the rest of the league. Like we watched them absolutely blow out the Riders.
Yeah, I mean they're running a mock week in and week out.
So as a result, the kind of to say that this guy's just won the cup, he's just won the cup, and they've let him go is kind of irrelevant.
And coach of the month.
And coach of the month, but it's kind of irrelevant domestically because there's no competition. The competition for them is Euro Cup. The Euro Cup's their focus, and if they feel they're not getting what they want from him in terms of Euro Cup, they're going to look elsewhere. They're a multi-million-dollar company. And
I suppose this is where the WBBL lacks massively behind the BBL in terms of the WBBL is still seen as semi-pro.
There you go.
And it's something that I've taken away from talking to the new Gladiators owner is how there's too many teams probably in the WBBL who are basically just glorified Bucks teams.
Yeah.
So for the league to be, for London or whoever else take the league seriously, you almost need to think, actually, is this something like a breakaway league, something that the women's pro setup needs to look at to make sure it's all teams who are going the same way, like Durham don't cover their lines up, they don't. And this is just other teams. It's just from seeing them. Okay, they ended up beating the Gladiators that day, but the best way to watch the game was through that WBBL reviews guy's phone on social on Instagram.
It's not good enough, is it? Yeah.
Like that's not. So you're talking about minimum standards, and if London Lions women's team's goal was to do better in Europe with that team of so many GB internationals, so many internationals from across Europe. They failed. So if it's,
they're going to bring in a new coach.
Personally, I think that I'm going to refer back to a show that we did last year. I can't remember if you were on it, Grant, but we had Azania Stewart and Joe Leadham come on the show. And the reason I love Joe Leadham so much as a human being, let alone a player, is because she speaks nothing but truth, and everything she says is absolutely on the money. And maybe, Pabz, if we can clip the bit out from that show.
I can't promise because I'll have to find it.
Well, I mean, she basically says, look, when are you ever going to see a team like the one they had last season together again, where, you know, you've got her and Azania, but then you've also got the new school of Kennedy Leonard and Holly Winterburn. What do you call it? I'm having a complete brain melt.
Yeah, we know you get, but the level of talent on that team was phenomenal.
And Joe was saying, I'm here, they're here, but I'm not getting any calls telling me to go into any schools and
they weren't making the most
run camps for kids.
100%.
I'm not seeing marketing campaigns with our faces on, because, whether we like it or not, those players have achieved more in their careers than most of the BBL have in terms of, what they've done. They've played at the Olympics, for God's sake. They've won Commonwealth silver medals. They qualified for Eurobasket and came fourth. And you have this team. We didn't get to see another year of that team with Jo leading, and she retired when she did. It's almost like you sort of feel like she's going, well, do you know what? There was your chance. You missed it. I'm done with it. You know what I mean?
The biggest eye-opener for me when she talks, and she talks so well on it, is that she said that when she goes to places she's played in Europe, she gets mobbed. When she goes to shoot around at Surrey Sports Park, she gets told to get off the court. It's not time to go on yet. Like, it's... And in that same venue, they've got pictures of them up on the wall. It's like, what is wrong with you? Right?
Yeah, so you're sort of asking yourself, it's like, London obviously knew who they had. Did the new owners fully understand who they had? Because what we had there was, as far as I'm concerned, the greatest women's British basketball player ever.
They're not,
that needed to be celebrated.
I mean, they knew they had. I think there's an element of I don't know what the reason is or why they didn't take on the WBBL as well, because from what I understand, 777 obviously have taken over the BBL, but they've not taken over the WBBL. And I wonder if there's an element of, all right, well, shoot yourself in the foot
but yet they're still prepared to pay all their players professionally and get into Europe and do this, that, and the other. That's where it doesn't sit well with me.
That's the route
it's well, so the league isn't interested in the WBBL, but it's interested in the London Lions WBBL team because they own it. So they're going to make sure they get all the best players, put them into Europe, try and get a bit of exposure.
They don't own the WBBL. I think that's the point. But they can afford to just fill the roster with as many decent players as they want because they want to do well in Europe.
But then
who does own them then?
No, I don't know. It's whoever chaired it.
Who's paid? Because those girls, they ain't playing for nothing. Believe me, that there's some good salaries on that London Lions team.
Well, of course, but then 777 owns the Lions. I don't think it owns the WBBL. I don't think they took that on when they took on the BBL.
I don't think they do. But it's when you look again, I'd be surprised if 777 is like, okay, we're watching what you're doing. We want to invest, but you need to improve your minimum standards. Like,
absolutely.
There's a lot of stuff there that they would have to do, and without basic.
I think it would cost
them. Going unbeaten in everything, winning everything and getting further in Europe than any team's ever done before wasn't enough for them, which is what they did last season.
They want to do better in Europe. I don't think the domestic, in terms of WBB, I don't think the domestic stuff.
But then we hear them talking about it's a process, it's a journey, and it's like, well.
It doesn't.
If the very start of the Lions women's journey is to go unbeaten and win everything comfortably without breaking out a sweat, and then going further into Europe than ever before, well, is that not like the first 3 steps of a journey covered straight away?
It's done. It's like a leap.
It's my point. But we sort of digress a little bit to the stuff that's happened this week because. The Barking Abbey thing. I mean, if you look at the list of players that have come through Barking Abbey and what it means to the city of London and the pathway for these kids to go pro, it's just like, so what's going to happen? Because the problem is down there is there's a lot of these academies. Yeah, I've just seen a lot of them play in the junior National Cup finals and London is not short of teams. There's a lot of teams and there's a lot of very, very, very good players down there. Yeah. So you're sort of thinking, well, does that mean that the Lions are just going to start a new academy and suck up all the best players there as well?
I would have thought so. I think that, to me...
And just go around Barking Abbey, Kohler and...
I realise that Barking Abbey's... This is the thing that is the flip side of that, if you like, is that the Lions want their own development squad, their own academies and things like that, which obviously they can afford to do. The history at Barking Abbey would make it I don't know if it make it difficult, or potentially they wouldn't want to rename themselves specifically the London Lions Academy or whatever. So does that immediately say, well, we have to cut ties then, because that's not the vision that we've got, that we want to put out there? It's not. I don't think it's necessarily severing a pathway for players that play for Barking Abbey to go on and play for the Lions. I think, but what you're saying, if the other thing of that is, of course, if the Lions do succeed in doing their own academy, if that is their idea, then they are going to be more financially able to perhaps draw in the better players from the areas and maybe have a bit of a monopoly there, which they'll want to do because they'll want them to play for the Lions ultimately. Yeah,
and they'll go around all the academies and suck up all the best players. I mean, Barking Abbey, what Lloyd Gardner did at that place, is off the chart.
Absolutely.
A lot of work has gone into what Lloyd did there, and then for it to go, I just the way that the Lions is behaved the right word. I don't know. To me, just seems like that's what they'll do. They'll set up their own. They'll go around, cherry pick all the best players, become a dominant academy, and all to the detriment of the already, in my opinion, quite diluted academy scene down there, because there's so many of them.
But there's a lot of people down there. I was going to say, I feel like there is
a lot of people,
but a larger pool.
These teams crop up, but last year at Final Four, I'm looking at the thing going, London legends, who are these? And then there's the London Elite. The London Elite team that I saw this year with some incredibly talented players. The girls' Cola team, a notorious great team. So you sort of going, what effect is this going to have on the academies that have been around forever? Poured blood, sweat, and tears to get where they are, and then some new entity comes in with all in the world and goes, right, okay, well, we'll just have him, and him, here, and here, and we're going to win everything.
Maybe it won't be that easy for them. Maybe they'll find that out kind of the hard way, because the history with Barking Abbey, and like you say, their ability to kind of develop all these new London teams. There's obviously enough bodies down there to be playing. Maybe Lions throwing the hat in the ring won't make a huge amount of difference to that. Maybe it will, but this thing that I thought. Go on, Grant. Sorry.
No, I was just scrolling through social media to find some of the comments from, obviously, we talked about like Orlin Jackman saying stuff, views, and it's all interesting just seeing different views from guys who've been around, and like Eddie makes a good point, being like, obviously some people might lose out, but what happened? Like he says, but that happened when the Premier League was formed and started its path to like global dominance.
Yeah.
He kind of ends it by saying, of course, some people would prefer the BBL remained a closed shop, but for less able players and coaches, but that's the cost of progress. And that's something that's something I find quite interesting in terms of that's Eddie, who's kind of a lower level player in the BBL. Okay, I think I'm not sure what he's up to now, but he's someone that you're like, okay, what you're saying that as someone who's maybe not been in the kind of London scene, but from a British basketball scene, I kind of get, and I kind of almost agree with him that, okay, if this is where we're going, but then we need to see some of the plans that, whether it's 777.
Well, you know what, Grant, that is it.
I think that's where, once the CEO's been in that bit longer, we'll see maybe a bit more of like a strategy and plan in place. The BBL's all, let's be honest, BBL and WBBL have always just ticked over like that'll do approach. So with a proper CEO in place in the men's league, will we see we see already an increase or a better use of broadcasting in the league, for example?
Nearly did. Go on.
The only thing I was going to add in, so is this one of these things that, whether it's from a league CEO point of view and then from London point of view, we'll see a plan soon? And I go back to what I said at the start of bad PR for, let's be honest, from a small group of people, but basketball is a small niche sport still. They then, once they come out with their whole new plan or whatever else they want to do development wise, what has happened in the past might be forgotten about.
Bigger picture things. What worries me though, Grant, because obviously I'm heavily involved with the Manchester Magic and Mystics Academy, so I can't yet equate it to, well, if that happened here, it's disastrous because the Magic and the Giants aren't affiliated anyway. However, the Giants have actually got a bit of academy starting, and they've already become a much better academy than they've been for a long time. For what reason, I don't know, because I'm sort of going, well, it used to be, if you're a BBL franchise, you have a women's team and you have an academy system. So I'm sort of looking at it going, right, okay, the Giants are starting theirs, but what if the power of the BBL suddenly states that they're making these super academies for clubs like London, and then you got to do it in Manchester? It's like, well, where does that leave us as one of the oldest and most successful academies in the country? I mean, we've got 25 years worth of banners hanging up around the gym at NBC, and some of the best players in the country. There's active BBL players right now that came through the Magic. Patrick Wheel and Aaron Menzies being two at Leicester. But then, we had a final last year where we had 4 listed players in the cup final, 2 on Manchester's team, 2 on Leicester's team. And you're sort of going, I don't know. It's a long one.
The only one other thing I wanted to kind of add was, and I understand the kind of, I mean, there's a generation of players that's kind of just leaving the BBL that's made the sort of boldest statements, if you like. And there's an element of me that thinks, okay, I mean, full respect to them. They've been there. They know what it's all about. But they're kind of the guys who are just missing out on this new money sort of thing as well. There's probably, I mean, I'd be bitter as fuck if that was me. Like, Jesus, I've just where were you 5 years ago or whatever kind of thing.
Well,
that would probably
apply that to guys,
salt on the wounds.
Yeah, I mean, you apply that to guys like Fletch, right? The guys that are, nearer the end and the beginning of their careers.
He'd be making a fortune,
and you sort of think, the marketability around guys like him would have been awesome. Unfortunately, timing's never going to be great, is it?
No. But the thing for me, the biggest thing,
luckily the time. Go on.
Well, I
was just going to say that in the 90s, the timing was perfect because, we saw some of the best players that have ever played outside of the NBA playing in this country. Absolutely. And a lot of those guys were NBA standard players.
Yeah, absolutely. But the biggest kind of, I don't know what the word is, tragedy, I guess, is the fact that as long as I can remember now, we've not given our young players a legitimate league to come into and earn money domestically, the equivalent of Europe, for example. So we've had a situation where they've either had to go to college in the States, they've had to use that route to kind of improve their stock so that they can then go across Europe. I mean, look at Justin Robinson. He spent most of his career in Europe playing basketball because when he came through the system, he went to Ryder, had to go to college. And there's not a legit route from here. There's going to be, because this league obviously financially is going to be vastly improved and we're going to be able to offer, or teams hopefully essentially will be able to offer more money. I mean, we've got a couple of young guys now. Ryder's signed a young guy, didn't they? Long-term. Cabos has just been signed long-term to the Lions. Yeah. There's obviously, this is it. This is the difference now. We can offer that to young players who are coming through, whereas before, these guys have had to go to the States for 4 years, and then they've had to work across Europe, Well,
there's only Miles Hexton who is the exception, and and Miles Heston is obviously a superstar,
Phenomenal,
but he's a superstar that we're probably never going to see in the BBL.
Well, this is the
didn't
problem.
go to the States, and his career has been overseas. So he's the exception to the rule. But there is these guys that have done it. In fact, I want to say Jamal Anderson didn't go to the States.
No, that's fair.
And went pro. So you get these guys, and that's why it's been good that of late so many of the GB players are playing here, so that it's more appealing for the domestic fans to go support a guy from their team.
But this is it though. If we want the legitimacy in this league and we want to be able to afford our better domestic players to come back and play here, I feel like there's a lot of almost necessary evils, if you like, that have to happen for that to become a reality. And
it's getting easy. But I remember 5 years ago, you went to a GB game, and you're looking down the roster going, well, I know who Kieran Achara is, I know who Dan Clark is, and I know that, but then I'm looking at it going, who's this guy? Where does he play? And it's getting easier now. There's guys that are in that squad that you'd love to see, like guys like Gabe Olaseni.
Yeah.
Are we close to being able to afford a guy like that to come play over here?
We've got recognisable guys that play, like Luke Nelson. It was great to see him play.
Luke Nelson and Ovi Soko, and there's more and more GB guys playing here now, which is great.
Let's take a quick break, and we'll come back and we'll talk a little bit about negative fans, not too much, because we've got some fan questions as well. So we'll be back in a sec. So, I mean, I guess it's been going on all season long to a degree, but there was a lot of negative fans fallout towards 777. They picked up, I guess, on what some of the ex-players were obviously tweeting about, and fair enough in terms of opinion if that's how you kind of feel about things. But the Pats, bless them, can't seem to do anything right. There's a lot of negative stuff on the Pats. In fact, we got a fan question from a Patriots fan asking, in terms of their own ex-players, whether the tweets from Antonio Williams recently are a bit classless, or are they just banter with former teammates? That's from Alex. It's been a bit. Well, I don't want to spend too long on this because we've got some more fan questions coming up, but I don't know. The Patriots is weird because you go to a game, it's sold out, it's nothing but positivity. Even when they lost to Bristol, it's not happy clapping. There's a kind of level of understanding that this team is what it is. It's in a situation where it's got, the core of its team has gone and 3 new key players have come back. Juwan Daniels had a tremendous fourth quarter. Looks like he's going to be good going forwards, but it's very much starting again. And in the interviews I had with teammates and coaches, it was very much along the lines of this is almost pre-season again. We're trying to find our identity again. It's not easy, but some elements of the fans have zero tolerance or sympathy for that. As far as they're concerned, we lost heavily to 2 teams over the weekend that we should have beaten, apparently, which is interesting. And then obviously Antonio Williams with what appears to be frustrated tweets, but then in another tweet says absolutely beautiful things about Rashad. Deuce, and comes to Elvise's defence when some other fans somehow managed to pick out that he turned his back on the fans from the interview he gave to me, despite fuck knows how. That drove me mental because I had to wait for him for half an hour while he signed autographs for 150 fans. It was just mental. But, I don't know. What do you guys think?
So I think it's one important thing right now. Are the 3-1 games.
Yeah.
So much change with players coming and going. The thing that stops negativity is winning games.
That doesn't even do it, though.
A run of games is huge. Think about how in recent weeks, obviously at the start of the season, my club was still known as Glasgow Rocks, basically, up until a couple of weeks before. And then that's a big, massive change, and fans did kind of react differently to it. But it's amazing what happens when you put a good, consistent, winning product on the floor. That gets forgotten about. It is amazing to see, everyone that I speak to at games from a Gladiator point of view is all behind it and blah, blah, blah. But I think from a Plymouth point of view, you've got people who are just frustrated because you began to have a good team second half of last season. Troy got hurt and didn't really come back the same guy. Antonio's was kind of one of the leading players, and I think sometimes he needs to step back to see what he kind of puts out in social media, because 1 second it's just exactly what you said. He's blowing the city up in terms of saying how amazing it is, how amazing the club is, and then the next minute he's slagging different things. But it's amazing what winning does, and there's still obviously with Plymouth an underlying dislike for the fact that the Raiders no longer exist. But honestly, I think from a Plymouth point of view, like fans can voice their opinions and everything, but it's amazing what happens when teams start winning.
That's my man.
To the Plymouth fans that project so much negativity, get over it. Get a grip and be grateful that you've got a great franchise. You're still filling your arena. You're still getting great players. You're getting entertaining basketball. Just be grateful for that, because you nearly didn't have a team at all.
Yeah.
And I always forget the name of the guy that pulled it out of the ashes. What's his name, Pabz?
Carl Heslop, yeah.
What a job that guy's done to not only start a new franchise, to keep hold of players like LVC, to bring in players like Antonio and the new guys that they've got, and still fill the pavilions every week. I don't see what the problem is.
I suppose, though, the only thing it could be is... No, absolutely, but from a generic fan point of view, like we've obviously heard, I think people want, if they're not winning, they're like, oh, but we don't know where we're playing next season. Oh, we're hearing the pavilions is chucking us out. Oh, we've got Boo Man saying this. Oh, we've got this, we've got that. Honestly, I think people need to just wait and see. No news is most of the time pretty good news. So wait and see in terms of that. But honestly, your team you played well against London. Bristol just had your number. And there's no doubt that team will start getting wins when they've got their 3 new guys settled into their rotation better.
I mean, I don't think there's a lot of teams that wouldn't beat Bristol on any night, including the Lions.
Exactly.
The Lions have lost to Bristol as well. Like, it's not... Anyway, it's getting a bit tiresome now. It's like...
It's very tiresome, because it's not like you know, the table or anything like that. You're winning games. You're losing games. You're doing, if you want to call it an expansion team, this is how it is.
Yeah.
You know, you don't win, you don't go above 500 your first year, or maybe even your second year, but at least you're going out there and you're winning, and you're not at the bottom of the table, and you're going to make the playoffs, and it's exciting, and you know the presentation of what you get down there is incredible.
In fact,
you know what
shout out
to
Ryan Schmidt. He's probably not listening, but lovely words after they came down to Pavilions, just saying, like, you know, it's one of the best venues they've played in since coming to the BBL. It's the first time he's been down there. Just how good it is, how good the fans are. It is phenomenal.
And then you just had to see, like, the fact that the whole picture shook the most of the game because it was just so loud.
It was rammed. And
I mean, maybe that's a good thing for you not be able to hear Nicholson, so...
Yeah, I mean, that's every cloud has a silver lining. But the Antonio stuff, yeah, I know what you mean. Sometimes it's like maybe sort of read back over it before you hit the tweet button. But at the same time, you know, the banter that him and the guys probably have, you know, have any of the guys...
Say that again?
Have any of the players taken offence to anything Antonio said?
I mean, it doesn't appear so. Doesn't seem so.
So there
He's
you
very
go.
close with LVC still. Talks to LVC every day. You know.
Right. Well, player banter is different to banter that you have with fans and everybody else. And yeah, okay, sometimes
maybe
like
DM
I say, read them before you tweet them, because yeah, you know, because how things are perceived are differently. But to me, it's just bants, you know, It's just players talking to each other.
Let's have a couple more questions. Oh, God, sorry.
So
The Dusha thing's
Dusha
mental.
thing.
I
can't even bother talking about it.
It's bollocks. Utter bollocks. Let's have a few more questions and then we'll do BTL 5, our predictions, and then we'll go to bed because it's 11 o'clock at night now, Tuesday night. Jesus. Question from Louis Hills. Out of the rest of the teams in the league, so every team other than Leicester and London, who would be your 5 players to? So we're not allowed to pick anyone from Leicester. Who would be your 5 players to beat a London team in one lineup?
VJ King.
Did we do this last?
Did we do that? No, we
did. Done this kind of thing.
Did we not just do a mid-season
similar
awards?
We did it at the cup final.
Well, we were arguing for ages, and we decided that Fletch should have to be the point guard.
Yeah, no, that was for cup. That was for the cup 5.
Right,
BBL
okay.
5. This is just to beat them.
We'll start again then. Fletch for point guard.
I agree.
I would have David Sloan as a combi kind of guard.
Would you? I'm not surprised at that.
Why?
I'm all for VJ King as well.
VJ King, Taj Green as my 2 kind of.
Green's the big man in the middle.
Mark Loving.
Yeah.
Jeremiah Bailey.
Jeremiah Bailey.
Yeah, but he's been a bit inconsistent. He had a good weekend. He's been a bit inconsistent, hasn't he? Who are we missing off that's absolute dynamite that could do a number?
We need a legit big man to beat London.
Have we not got Taj Green?
Yeah, Taj Green could be the big man, and then I'd have someone like Jamel as a defensive threat who can also give bucket as well.
I'd have, and I don't want to annoy you in terms of Sloan, but I'd have Larry Austin in a starting 5.
Yeah, Larry Austin. Yeah, he's bad.
He's freaking awesome.
He's a bad boy.
So we're looking at
Leicester, can you?
We're looking at Leicester. Oh no, so we can't have Loving.
Shit, so we can't have Loving. I was about to go Patrick Whelan.
Yeah, definitely.
Well,
I saw that definitely.
Yeah. Okay, so what about Fletch, Austin, Bailey, King, and Green? Boom.
You're trying to get Bailey in there, aren't you?
How are we not having a Gladiators player in this? I don't understand.
Well, I was tempted.
Williams would need to be in the team, pal.
Well, there is that.
Who?
Dirk.
Did it Williams?
So we're looking along the lines of VJ King, Fletch, Larry Austin, maybe Sloan coming off the bench.
Watson Gale off the bench.
Yeah, Watson Gale's got to be one of the best players off the bench this season, period. We've got sort of Williams with maybe Bailey coming in and then Taj Green, the big man. Who's the backup big man? Tape? Yeah. He's been great, isn't he? There you go. You took that in because I'm not reading it out again.
Alvici being my squad as well.
V, of course. Good old V.
Faux show.
Shout out to Paul Young, by the way, in Australia. Got an email. We've got a listener in Australia. How cool is that? And not my mate in Australia, somebody else. It's good, isn't it? I've not proofread this one, but we may have covered this already. This is from Rudiger Simpson. With recent news that London Lions have stopped their partnership with Barking Abbey, do you think it could be more beneficial in the long run if Lions create their own academy? I mean, we kind of covered that. I'm assuming that's what they are intending to do.
I refer to the 10 minutes or so we spent on it before, because otherwise I'll get worked up and angry again. Here's
one from Alex. This we probably should have tackled this. This looks like it should have been tackled during Weird Fans Hour. During the Pats Flyers game on Friday, a fan got irate with a supporter behind her for making too much noise, although I didn't hear anything excessive apart from her calling the fan a twat. Eventually, she left a few moments later. What would be the BTR crew's code of conduct for fans? My view is that the library is next to Iceland in town if you want some peace and quiet. That's from Alex, long-time listener. Good man. What's our code of conduct for fans then, fellas? Because a lot of people seem to want the Hapoel kind of thing, and a lot don't.
What, for being too loud?
What are we doing at a game? I mean, I sit on my arse and watch.
I'd be like,
something good happens, I'm on my feet.
Go and watch the snooker and enjoy it in silence.
And do the little fanny claps.
Yeah. And, I'm sure to me, the thought of going and watching snooker, unless Tahir's there doing the announcing, which he does, it would be the most boring thing ever. So might I suggest going and seeing a game that's played in silence?
Grant, what you like at games?
Noisy fans are what it's all about, man.
I agree.
I mean, considering one game I spent shouting at Darius Defoe
from right behind him.
Yeah, basically. No, man, you can't have we're a sport, man, that is interactive. Like, come on. If you don't want a bit of noise, I've seen it happen at games. People being told, I get sit down, like, come on, I can't see type thing. I can understand that a wee bit, but I got looks as well. When G got teed up, I shouted something. I got looks. I was like, I don't care. I think that's one of the reasons I take my wee girl is so I don't end up shouting too much because I don't embarrass her. No, it's I suppose there's a difference between cheering too loudly and shouting someone down, but no, like, come on.
Well, I've got to say, it's probably a good thing they didn't sit anywhere near me in the Bears days because I used to lead the chants.
Yeah.
Back when we were shit, when we first went to the Brighton Centre, I literally sat in the top corner of the season tickets and I led the chanting. And it was fun.
Yeah.
It was only ever fun stuff. Like, it was the best. My favourite one was the referee
guy.
Go on. Oh, the referee one. We got a rope, we got a tree, we're going to hang the referee. And then the next verse, we got a rope, we got a tree. We got a rope, we got a tree, we're going to make a swing. And then everyone would go, wee!
It's amazing.
Good time.
No, I just don't understand why you would think basketball would be something to just watch with your scone and tea.
I get that it's a family thing, but I mean, even
kids
families that go and sit in the football, go and watch the football and sit in the family section of that, you're still going to be subjected to some, and to be honest, some fucking horrendous chanting.
It'd be worse.
Oh, God. Yeah, I mean, I'd draw the line in a basketball game if there's a fan standing there slagging off one of their own players. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I've never liked that.
That's not cool.
That's something you get consistently at a football game. I can remember being at one game. We had at Charlton. I had a season ticket at Charlton for a couple of seasons. And we had a player called Laurie Wilson, and this guy. There's this one. I forget who we were playing now, but I mean Carlisle or somebody. With the one particular game, this guy and two of his mates sat a couple of rows back, just nothing but shouting. He's fucking awful. Anyway, he scored 2 before half time.
Yeah,
but the thing with football supporters is he was then like, and you could hear him then go, "Dang, that Laurie Wilson, he's all right."
yeah, he's a top player, him. Yeah,
that was funny. Anyway, codes of conduct's probably not the best thing to ask the below the rim wolf pack as we're.
Did a player react angrily? Do you? Yes. Well done. Congratulations.
Good. Right. It's that time for the BTR 5, and it's going to be fun tonight because I know I've got 7 at least, I think, on my list. So that's too many, so we're going to have to cut that down. Nicholson's mailed us in. Can one of you guys call that up? Because actually, I might be able to. It's where we pick the players that we think performed exceptionally over the weekend, not necessarily on a winning team, and not necessarily based on numbers, but just what we've seen. Nicholson's gone with Rashad Hassan for either game, 32 points against the team in second place, Bristol Flyers, and then 25 points against the mighty London Lions. He was phenomenal. He is on my list as well, so I can see Grant Young shaking his head up there, but he's on my list as well.
I know now. I was just reading the rest of his list, and I'm like,
VJ King.
You guys had 2 games at the weekend.
King was King was very good against the Patriots, and obviously just been named January player. I think he scored 30. It's 7 or 8 rebounds. Can't remember, but he was incredibly good. He's put Josh Ward-Hibbert, who did have a very good game for the Lions. Not the best player for the Lions. But then it's what you see. It's what you know. It's the eye test as well. He's put Bailey, Jeremiah Bailey, and Taj Green. But then he changed Taj Green, I think, for Ramon Fletcher, if I remember rightly. Yeah. So, yeah, there you go. Fellas, what you got?
Well,
Shakem Johnson for 1.
that's who I've got.
I've got Johnson as well.
Tappy for 2.
Yeah.
Brilliant across both games. Al Durham 3.
I don't have him, but yeah.
I'm not just nominating the full Gladiators team, but Durham. Look at his
It does sound like you are.
Johnny Bunyan, just because.
JB, he was very good.
No, I'm not adding JB. Sorry, Johnny.
Game changer.
I'd take Rashad. I would take. What game did I watch? So I can't remember how many I've said. Taj Green, I would take.
You've said too many.
I know, but it was a good weekend of basketball.
Say yours again. So you got Bailey.
Bailey, I want Bailey, Tappy. I've got about 7. I'd drop Bailey before. I'd take Tappy, Durham. I'll add Bailey in. Shakem Johnson and Rashad.
Okay.
You can't. Gladiators went 2-0 at the weekend. Like, come on.
It's alright. Depends what you watched. That's my man.
I watched a lot of basketball this weekend.
Ads, my man. You're probably a better judge of it, but it's not how it works. Ads.
Well, I had Shakem Johnson.
Yeah.
Taj Green. Tape.
Yeah.
Who was the other one that I had? Well, Mark Loving goes on my team every week.
He goes on his team when he doesn't even play.
And yeah, exactly. So you just always put down Mark Loving for me, whatever happens. And Rashad Hassan also featured on my list. But your guy Jeremiah Bailey's up there, but I think the other guy, Tape, will be the one that I'd keep in there. But didn't Larry Austin make it into the official team?
Yeah, I was just about to say he has. I've just looked at, having watched the highlights and then looking at his stats. Like,
yeah,
I think Larry Austin could be in our stuff every game.
Yeah.
Have any of you got Larry Austin, or have we completely overlooked it?
I've overlooked him until now, so I'm going to make him the 8th man in my team.
I'll put him down. We'll see how many ticks he gets.
Have we got VJ King?
Myself and Nicholson have VJ King.
Make that 3 then.
Alright, hold on then. Where's my list? So I've got Fletch, VJ King. I've got Larry Austin, to be fair. I've got Tape. No, I'm looking at the wrong one. That's the list we did earlier for players to beat, team to beat the Lions. Let me start again. I got Ramon, Deuce. I got Zubcic, but no one else has got him. Shakem Johnson, and I've got Bailey or Tape. I couldn't decide between the two. But then I could put Tape instead of Zubcic because Zubcic is a wasted. Yeah, let's do that.
Can you have Larry Austin and Fletch in the same 5?
Yeah, it's not about position for us.
No,
just looking again at Bailey's stat line against Sheffield. Okay, he only had the 12 points, but he was 9 rebounds, 6 assists, 4 steals. Like what a stat! 2 blocks as well.
So let's have a look.
Oh my god, that's better.
Put the ticks by what we've got. So we've definitely got Shakem Johnson in. Right, I'm gonna commit this to the list. Make sure it's in capitals. God damn it! Type the old keyboards. There we go. We're back. Oh, the old keyboard is not working. I'm not editing this out. I can't be bothered. It's too late. So, Shakem Johnson definitely in. I think as well. 1, 2, 3. VJ King is definitely in.
Happy with that.
Rashad Hassan is definitely in. I'll just put Deuce. Which leaves 2 slots. Tape has 3 ticks. Who else? And Fletch has 3 ticks. No, how many? Hang on. Who had Bailey?
It may just be me 3 times. But he had his stat line on against Manchester as well. 18 stat line on against Manchester as well. 18 points, 13 rebounds, 6 assists, 5 steals, 2 blocks. How's this guy not in our team?
Because Tape's got the votes. So there you are. Shaquem Johnson, VJ King, Rashad Hassan, Ramon Fletcher, and Patrick Tape. Sorry, Jeremiah Bailey.
That's mental.
Next time. That's how it works. That's how it goes. That's how it goes, Primrose.
I don't like this democratic vote.
Oh, I think Nicholson has missed one of his predictions off. That's a bit of a slip up, isn't it? I think he's missed the second Giants game. If you can, I've checked the list from what he sent because obviously he would have listened to. By the way, it's time for predictions. Ta-da! If you check the list he sent in, he's gone Eagles, Pats, Giants, Riders, Pats, Glads, Knicks. He's left out the second Giants game, which obviously was Caledonia, wasn't it? Or has he put Caledonia? No.
I don't remember seeing his team for his.
Yeah, he sent it through. He said he sent it. He must have listened to the show, and then when we said, "Oh, are you going to get a message now?" Come through. He sent it through. It's in the group chat. It's way up. We've had a lot of chat.
Oh, Jesus! All right, okay. I'm not scrolling for that. Then.
It's a long way up, but he's left off Giants Scorchers, which could have been a gimme. Sorry, Paul, you didn't put it in there. But anyway, Eagles Sharks was the first game we predicted on. February the 3rd. So the Eagles got the win. Decent win as well for the Eagles, 84-70, which is it's that thing, isn't it? They're only a couple games back now from the Sharks. It's not looking good. Ads picked the Sharks. Everybody else gone Eagles. Flyers, Pats. We all took the Flyers, except obviously for Nicholson. Giants Gladiators was the first game for the Giants, wasn't it? And everybody except for Grant took the Giants. So congratulations to him. Riders. We didn't talk about the Riders at all, but obviously 22-point win over Scorchers, and we all took the Riders. Giants got the win over the Scorchers, but Nicholson didn't throw a vote in for that one. Lions got the win against the Pats. This is not a good week for Nicholson. Gladiators, of course, with the win, and Knicks with the win, so we all get points for that. Let me just total up. Nicholson only got 4 this week, 68 for him. Grant, Jesus, Grant, you got a full house.
Oh, get the fireworks out. Jeremiah Bailey, you're my hero.
8 fixtures, so you're on 73 now. Ads, you are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You are on 65. So you've closed the gap considerably, and I am on 71.
Well done, Pabz. Well done.
So not a good week for Nicholson.
What?
Very
what am
good
I on?
week. You're on 65. And you're lucky to be on that after your late entries.
Well.
Okay. Not put any in this weekend.
He's given me a list. Didn't he send it in?
Yeah.
He has. You're going to read that out for me, aren't you?
Yep.
Friday 10th. Oh, I'm assuming it's Friday. Is it Friday? No. What's the 10th? What's today? 7th. Yeah, that is Friday, isn't it?
He's missed out more games.
Good. That's tough. He'll have to reassess. He put a trophy game in that we've got on Sunday afternoon. Anyway, Gladiators at home to the London Lions. Is he going to do it? Grant Young.
I'm so confused by what I'm looking at Nicholson's list right now, and I'm like, what's he predicting up to?
He's done it in a weird order.
Oh,
yes, he must have done it in a weird order. Let's go with you, Glads or Lions. Maybe we can work him out after we've done all of ours, because he's obviously
an idiot, is what Nicholson is. There's loads of trophy games this weekend, Mr. Nicholson. Not just your Pats. There's more than just your team playing in the trophy. So either you've absolutely skinned yourself here, mate, and you're about to get 1 point.
Right, mate. Are you going to pick the Glads against the Lions?
Oh, of course I am.
I love it. I love it. Good. He's Nicholson of the North. Ad's my man.
I'm going hardcore because I want to get back in this, so London.
I'll go Lions as well. Has Nicholson got Lions on that list anyway?
I want Gladiators to win, but I'm saying London.
I honestly cannot make out. He's missed out. Unless I've missed another message, he has only done 1 trophy game and then the 3... Have we got 3 league games?
Yeah, he's put 1 trophy and 3 league.
But have we got...
Just check. There's not many fixtures this weekend, to be fair. So we've got 1, 2, 3... No, hang on. 1, 2, 3... They're all trophy games except for Phoenix Lions.
And then
there's a fixture next week.
Okay.
There's a fixture on next Tuesday.
I
Maybe
think
we'll cover
London
that.
study games throwing me. But yeah, he's kind of said league, and that's not made sense.
What's he picked for? I'm assuming he's picked Lions. So he's okay. So some of those aren't league games, Nicholson. Some of them are trophy games. So he's picked Lions. We'll give him that.
Lions.
Okay. Don't hear this working out on other shows, do you?
Because we keep it real.
That's where they're falling short. They need all the banter. Then we got another trophy game. Leicester Riders at home. Not Bristol. The Sheffield Sharks, the visitors. 7:45 tip, so that could be the Sky game. Ads, my man. Riders or Sharks?
Riders.
Grant?
Raiders for me.
Nicholson's gone Riders as well, is he?
Mm-hmm.
Although he thinks it's a league game.
He's missed a game out this week. He's 100%.
Oh, he is.
He has. Oh, he has. 100%.
He must have. So I'm not going to zag. I'll go Riders as well. Then February the 11th, which will be the Saturday evening, Surrey Scorchers at home. Again, the trophy. Visitors are the Phoenix, which is going right back to the first game of the season. These two teams played at the Surrey Sports Park. Phoenix, I think, were the winners then. What are we going for? I'll go Knicks. Ads, Scorchers or Knicks?
Next.
Next for me.
Next for you. Has Nicholson got one on that?
I have no idea. I don't think he has.
It's Cheshire. Yeah, he's got Cheshire.
No, but I think he's done that for the... Has he done that for Cheshire London because he's put Championship down for that?
He wouldn't pick London. He wouldn't pick Cheshire against London.
Cheshire at home, though. He may have zagged.
You wish he had. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt.
Clarification from you, Paul.
Pats Trailblazers in the trophy as well on Sunday afternoon, 3 p.m. tip-off. Pats at home. I'll go Pats. I'm assuming Nicholson's going Pats. Anybody going Derby?
Nope.
That's my man.
Nope.
Right.
Pats.
Could be a chance for the Pats to get a win. And then last game, should we do the Valentine's Day massacre Lions Scorchers, because that's this time next week, so that's Tuesday. So we'll be recording the show and it'll have finished. So we probably should predict that one.
What about the Cheshire London game on the...
Yeah, that's what I just said. I know we'll do that definitely, but I'm just looking at the Lions Scorchers thinking, should we do that one? We'll do that one as well, but yeah. I assume everyone's going to choose the Lions in terms of this next one. Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. For some reason, Cheshire at home, I'm honestly really, 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 really thinking about it.
Do a zag. You got points to give.
Because London have got so many games.
Zag, 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 zag. If you were a person, you'd be Grant Gonzaga. So you are a person if you're a college team. It's late, I'm tired.
Oh, man. Nah, London.
Boo. And then 14th, Lions Scorchers. We'll predict that one. I'm assuming we'll all take Lions. I'll even give Nicholson the benefit of the doubt for that, or shall I leave it off? He'll listen to this and he'll do it anyway, so I might as well just write him in. Saves me writing it down later on when he panics and realises he's missed some out. There you are. That's the predictions done. It's a very close league right now. Grant got a bit of a lead, 2 points over me, but Nicholson's only 3 points behind me, and Grant's only Pabz is only 3 points behind Nicholson. So anything could, should, possibly will happen. Who knows? Pabz, my man, thank you for joining us. Anything to say before we go? Got about a minute and a half.
No, it's been a pleasure as always.
No name drops from someone you might have met in a sneaker shop?
Yeah, big up to the dude who came up to me in the Nike outlet store and said he's a big fan of my work, and I thought he was talking to somebody else until he came and said it to me again.
That's amazing. Big fan. Grant, my man, anything to plug before we go?
Part 2 of my Steve Timoney interview is out there to listen to on everywhere that you can listen to podcasts, so please listen to that. It's a good one. I recorded last night with Al Durham, so that'll be out in a week or so, and I've still got part 3 of my chat with the owner of the go as well. So loads going on.
Go ladies CBB this weekend.
Yeah,
Game on.
Ladies Thursday and Sunday.
Catch that on.
Still do it. Still qualify.
We'll call it a night. I just signed some autographs myself at Pavilions. How awkward, didn't like doing it. Well, I asked if he wanted me to sign the back because he's got all these good players who've signed his poster. Anyway, thank you everybody at home for listening. Thank you fellas for joining me. Until next week, take it easy. We'll speak to you soon.
This is real as it gets. I'm on a boat, motherfucker. Don't you ever forget. I'm on a boat.